stealing that, by the way.
Go for it.
All right, guys. Well, and I will credit you as well. Go ahead, my bad. Go ahead.
All right, I was gonna say, welcome to Superherocuts. It's your boy Jerry Stevie in the flesh. Tonight we're gonna get into it. Daredevil, Born Again, Episode 3. Sadie Sink, casted in Spider-Man 4. Let that sink in. Superman, why it's the most important movie for 2025 and for Warner Brothers. Rumors of Daredevil Season 2 and what's to come. Why did the Suicide Squad game fail? We're going to talk about some of the biased DCU haters. Snyder Cult. The Russos talking about Tony Stark and Doctor Doom. That one's going to be beefy. Colin Farrell is talking about Sergeant Rock for the new DC movie. And Marvel Knights, the legendary comic imprint, is back. Let's go. Stevie, how you doing?
Oh, dude, I'm ready to record, bro. It's been a great week, man. I'm ready to make some inferiors mad. I'm ready to talk some combos. I'm ready to talk superheroes, bro. I'm in a great mood. How are you, though, brother?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Another week of getting into it online with the intellectual inferiors. But I didn't mean to cut you off in the beginning. I just wanted to get energized for the show and get the viewers energized. So I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No, you're all good, bro. You're all good. But yeah, 1 second. I forgot to change the background. I still got the Daredevil watch party background on here. Hold on. Let me just change this real quick, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope you all are doing good day, man. We are so excited to talk about just what's going on in the pod. We've been, as you all know, we go super hard, and we're just excited to, share the things that we've been working on, things we talk about. But so let's get into the first topic, into Daredevil Born Again. So how did you feel about episode 3?
I loved it. I'm not I agree with some people that I think it needed more action, but people forget that action isn't all that we need from these shows. I think that there was a lot of good dialogue. Sometimes, like a lot of people are complaining sometimes in the earlier issues of Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman. People are like, oh, there's not enough action. There's like, bro, Hickman is also the king of dialogue. So it was good. And I think that Daredevil Born Again, the dialogue was really good. What's going on, with Fisk is really intriguing. What happened with White Tiger was really intriguing. Again, that was totally taken from the Bendis Daredevil run, even though there were some major differences. That scene was like right out of the comics. The MCU, again, people, it's, a lot of the times intellectual inferiors, what they'll do is they'll be like, oh, well, this has to happen before Secret Wars because that's what happened in the comics. And it's like, bro, I don't know if you've noticed, but the MCU has been around since 2008 or 2009, and none of it is a one-to-one adaptation of the comics. I don't want to be the one to, burst your bubble here, but this is something you should have known. And that is why we say intellectual inferiors. If it's taken you this long to realize that the MCU isn't a one-to-one adaptation of comic books, come on.
Yeah, 100%. I thought this episode was great. White Tiger getting shot in the head really messed me up. I was like, oh, this is just the way it happened. I mean, he's about to go save someone, and then boom, it's like, dang. But and you know me, like one of the things that pissed me off about the last season was that he didn't have on the suit. You know what I mean? And the plot itself, and man, Charlie Cox, bro, he's a great actor. He is a great actor. And the way he plays the lawyer role, like when he outs White Tiger as, when he outs Hector as the White Tiger, because that was the only way that he could win the case. I was like, yo, like they are cooking. And then honestly, right after all of those good deeds were being told, I was looking at the DA guy. I'm like, how is he going to bring this around to make these cops, look good? Because he just had, because Murdoch just had all these people tell all these great things, and the way he twisted it, bro, with his words. I mean, it was the writing in this episode was just top tier.
Yeah, it was unreal. And you know, you felt bad for White Tiger. You felt bad for him. And I remember feeling that way when I read the comics. Like you really felt bad for him. I will say in the comics, I do think that the opposing attorney was way better. I mean, that guy was savage, bro. Yeah.
Way more sharp.
Yeah. He was and it was like intentional too. You know, it was a big black lawyer. And obviously you have Hector, who's Hispanic, and you have Daredevil, and that was like early 2000s. So, you know, I didn't like the costume because like the costume reminded me of like the cheap Power Rangers costumes. By the way, like there are people online that are trying to bring Power Rangers back. Just stop. Like, bro.
Whoa. No, why are you hating on the Power Rangers? What's going on here?
Because I've never seen the new movie, but I know that they did the Go Power Rangers in the movie. That shit's so corny. And I loved Power Rangers too, but like when I was in kindergarten and then I grew up.
It's very possible though that you might like the new one because it isn't like there's no like joke. Like it's really serious. It's
okay. That's what I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
low key. It's low key violent as hell. I ain't gonna hold you.
Okay. They gotta. They like. I know it's their heritage, but it was a TV show for like kindergarten age kids. Yeah. They should revenge it, but whatever. We're not here to talk about Power Rangers. Let's get back into.
Sorry. But while you're here, it's the same plot too. They fight, they lose. There's some weird lore that's dropped. They kill the bad guy. Then the bad guy becomes a Megazord. Then they have to get their Megazord. It's like, come on.
You know what I found out too? I also found out that they used like Japanese. There was a Japanese fighting TV show, and they just repurposed the content. That's crazy.
Yes,
it's
bro.
Actually, like the guy who came up with that, I'm sure made it killing, but it's you know, it's like we don't even need to film it. We'll just use these Japanese guys.
Literal billionaire off of that crap.
Yeah,
bro. It's actually insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because where they make their bread
Talk
is
about cultural appropriation.
Yeah, is
not
the toys,
that there were guys that complain about things like that, but you know, if they did that in like 2015 on Twitter, they would have been lit up, bro.
Yeah, and also, bro. I can only imagine the amount of money Power Rangers makes on merchandise, bro. Because all of us had Power Ranger toys growing up. All of us did.
Bro,
billions, bro.
That white sword. I had a friend that had 2 of them, and my parents couldn't find one anywhere, and I was so pissed at them. I was like, you got the last one ever, and I don't even have one.
Yo, bro, and literally, like, I mean, and Hungry Yes, bro. Hungry Yes, dude. I watched until Samurai, and then I didn't like the Samurai, so then I fall. But Dino Thunder, Ninja Storm, Jungle Fury, bro, they had some bangers. Mystic Force, which is my favorite group, man. That Power Rangers used to be fire. But anyways, but yeah, back to Daredevil board again. Sorry, bro. Dog. So number one, Kingpin's speech in the end was obviously immaculate, and then so. I love the thing that they are building with Daredevil and Kingpin, and it's weird, Jerry, because it feels like they're both going through their own struggles, but they're both on 2 different sides of the coin, but they're both dealing with the same thing, and it's that, you know, Matt is learning that, like, yo, even though I'm a lawyer, even though I'm following the laws and the rules, and justice did win, justice in the reins of the law isn't always going to get things done, you know, and Matt's kind of been seeing that through these episodes. And then the same thing with, you know, Kingpin is like Kingpin, which is very interesting. He wants to be this upheld stand-up guy, you know, like you can tell he's trying his best, but he's learning, you know, with his whole criminal underbelly about the war against each other, right? Like he is learning that, yo, like I have to be ruthless. I have to be savage. And I think it's a beautiful picture, Jerry, seeing how there's two different characters and 2 different events, but it's kind of leading them to the same point in their arc. And
Yeah.
and I think that like that kind of plot is it's true artistry.
And it really is Daredevil's bread and butter, not just in the comics, but also the Netflix show. It was very philosophical and a lot about, our system. And I'm a proud American, uh, unapologetically, which is crazy that you have to say that nowadays, but whatever. And I believe in our system, but our system is not perfect. There are people I know of that were convicted that I think it's a faulty conviction. I don't believe in it. And then there are other people that have gotten away with the law that, example everyone agrees with, OJ Simpson. Everyone believes OJ is a murderer. He's basically admitted it, but he got to walk free. I believe our system is good, but it's an imperfect system in an imperfect world. And I think that you have to understand that. And I love that, we are dealing with brilliant writers and storytelling where they're able to tell this story in a way that makes you look at it from the angles of like the court system, but at the same time, the angles of vigilante. And I think it's really interesting that in this Daredevil, show universe, whatever you want to call it, Netflix, Disney Plus, they don't call Daredevil. The only person that really calls Daredevil a superhero is Fisk. Everyone else is calling him a vigilante. And when you call him a vigilante, it makes it. I feel like that term opens up that it's like when you say vigilante, you understand that there are multiple different perspectives on Daredevil. Whereas you say superhero, it's more of a closed door to that idea. And, I love, like, it just brings me back to my favorite scene from any of this. Maybe not favorite because I love the Punisher action, but the dialogue, I think the best dialogue that any of these shows ever had was, and I know a lot of people would probably say Daredevil when he was like, I beat you, which stopped here.
Powerful
But
moment.
the best one, in my opinion, my not so humble opinion, because I'm not humble, is, and what do you do, Red? And what do you do, Red? Punisher and Daredevil, because Punisher is just
Red.
a little more, Punisher is just a little more extreme version of Daredevil, and you could say that. Like, I mean, obviously he's a lot more extreme, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, if you look down that spectrum of vigilante, Punisher is just further down that path. I don't think Daredevil ever will go down that path, but it's worth, when you think of vigilante, you don't think of someone like Superman.
100%. And the word vigilante brings me back to, my origin days of like the Arrow, when Green Arrow was just a murderer, like literally a murderer, and I actually put out a video today about why the Punisher is so violent. And while we're here, let's get into that as well, because a lot of people have to understand, man, that the way that the Punisher views.
You've been reading Punisher, right?
Yes, I have been. But the way that the Punisher views, and this is why I read in the comics is so, like, you guys got to read the comics to understand the character, because
which Punisher have you been reading? Sorry, I keep cutting you off. Cook, and then I want to hear about the comics.
All right. So the thing about the Punisher that I love, bro, is that the Punisher doesn't see a end game that where the villains come to the good side and win. Like when I watch Spider-Man with like Norman Osborn, when I watch Superman with all of these like characters, like Superman, in his mind, like there's a possibility that this villain might come around eventually, and in some of the animated shows and stuff, and even in some of the comics that we read when we read about Spider-Man, or or if you watch like Spider-Man 3, if we're talking about from a movie standpoint, right? We all know that Harry Osborn is trying to kill Peter for like 90% of the film, but then in the end, what happens, bro? He turns, right? He becomes he sacrifices life. And the one thing that messed me up was, bro, in the Punisher's world, that is not a thing. You know what I mean? And the one thing that what is hilarious now too also is that the Punisher, seeing that Punisher suit gave me a Daredevil addiction. So after the show, I started rewatching season 2 again because that's when the Punisher first comes out and he freaking shoots Matt, like in his freaking chest, and then he hides overnight. And it really made me think, bro, like, and a lot of people have to understand, the Punisher took his kids to a park in New York and they got brutally murdered and he almost got killed. You know what I mean? And when that happened, bro, a freaking switch just flipped in his head. And I mean, guys, think about the people that you love, think about the closest people in your life. Imagine you're out with them, you've been at war, you have PTSD also, and you see the people you love get slaughtered like freaking animals. How do you think you would turn out? And that's kind of the way that I've been, and that's been my viewpoint of Punisher when I've been kind of rewatching Daredevil season 2. So I would love to hear your outlook on the psyche of him as well.
So I think the Punisher is just someone that, first of all, he's a Marine veteran, and veterans, depending on, and I don't want to talk too much on this because I'm somewhat knowledgeable because I've read about it, but I don't really know too many like veterans in my life, so I can't speak to this so well. But it's no secret that veterans who actually deal with combat don't assimilate back into society so well. They struggle with it. They've seen things, they've experienced things that, if you haven't, from my understanding, you really can't understand what it's like to, go, sit behind a computer in an office for, a 9 to 5 after that. And I think that Punisher dealt with that. His family was killed and he was just like, fuck this shit. Everyone's scum. Like, it's you're either someone who deserves to have life or you don't deserve to have life. And he's very black and white with it. I think that's the best and most simple way I can put it. And if you really want to read Punisher, like what's considered the best Punisher run is Punisher Max by Garth Ennis. It's not on Marvel Unlimited. I don't know exactly why, but my guess, and I think I'm probably right on this, is that it's parental advisory, and I think that they don't want to have content on Marvel Unlimited that would make parents not want to have it for their kids.
Yep.
So that's why that's why I mean that's the only reason that would make sense. But it's amazing. It's worth buying. I know I have the graphic novels. It was when I first started reading comics, so like I wasn't so digital only, and I was still buying graphic novels. But I always meant to buy them again on digital because I do want to reread them. They're incredible. And I think they even start out when when Frank is at war overseas. But the Punisher's always been one of my favorite characters. I always thought he looked really cool in the comic shops that my dad would take me to when I was a kid. And then there was and I always liked guns. Like I was a big fan of guns growing up. I played all the shooter video games. I had a ton of toy guns. I mean, I remember even my best friend, the kid who had that sword, his parents and my parents, they were like, the school was like talking about shootings, and not to make light of it, but like, and they were like, you really shouldn't be buying your kids toy guns and letting them play video games. And they our parents looked at each other and they were like, oh, we're shooting.
Yeah, right.
But that the movie came out, the Thomas Jane movie. I loved it. I still love that movie. And the game came out, and the game was crazy. Like there was a scene where you would kill people in the most savage ways. There was one point where you dunked a guy's head into a tank of piranhas, and the piranhas ate the guy's head off. It was crazy. Yeah, it was sick. It was before. I mean, my parents would have got, but I remember I bought it at the mall in 7th grade with gift cards. And like,
days, yeah.
You go to GameStop today in 7th grade and try to buy Grand Theft Auto, they'll tell you hell no. It's crazy. But I just think the Punisher is so unique. I also remember when I was reading that comic that as much as I loved it, I wanted to read comics that were more intertwined with the Marvel universe. And the Punisher is one of those characters where he is really in a world of his own. And yes, he has a lot of interactions with Daredevil and Spider-Man in the older stuff, but in Punisher Max, it was really just his world. And the thing about it that makes it interesting is when you think about the Punisher, it's like, other than this Daredevil show, could you imagine Frank Castle in like any MCU project and fitting in well? Probably not, right? They're going to make him versatile, and that's what the MCU is going to do. But like the people that Frank Castle deals with are much more like the characters in the Penguin TV show. The guys that are dealing dope out of trucks and are, more like if you ever watch the TV show Power, he's dealing with criminal gang enterprises that, deal drugs and cause, the scum of society in inner cities. And when I say the scum of society in inner cities, I'm talking about the criminals, the gangs. But yeah, he's an awesome character. I definitely if I were to ever make a list of must-read comics, 100% Punisher Max, it's on there.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
So the comics that I read, I actually bought 2 hard copies, and it's only because they were at Second and Charles. And so I found a Marvel preview comic that came out in like 1975, right? And basically, like it was kind of like a one-shot thing. And the story is called Death Sentence. And the Death Sentence story is basically where like the Punisher stops a political assassination attempt, and then he basically gets involved with like the mafia, and it's basically this whole thing of just the Punisher dealing with government like corruption. You know what I mean? And then I also bought Punisher Year One. Which, by the way, was $69, by the way. But I'm pretty sure the artist that drew the cover.
I've heard of him. I'm looking it up right now.
I'm pretty sure the artist that drew that cover is the same one that drew the Last Ronin for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm pretty sure it's the same artist. I haven't gotten too into it yet, but I heard that story's fire. So I'm going to be digging into that this week. So
yeah, there's a couple of, obviously the Punisher has a couple iconic comics. There's a Soviet one. I remember I bought it when I first started to buy comics, and I don't think I ever read it, but I have the set. I think it's called Punisher Soviet, something like that. And there's Welcome Back, Frank. And I think the newer one with the alternate logo will probably go down in infamy. I don't know much about the story, but I do think that maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure in that one I'm pretty sure I'm right on this actually. I wouldn't say it if I didn't think I was. But yeah, he leads the hand. So that sounds pretty interesting. But I do think it'll go down in infamy just because I think in the future, people are going to look back at putting this radical propaganda into our entertainment. I don't think it's going to be looked back on kindly.
Yeah, exactly. And I also want to say this too, bro. If Marvel, if the MCU does go all in with Bernthal's Punisher, I think he can be one of the biggest characters that we have in the MCU.
I would
I really do.
love to see Punisher and Spider-Man. Like, I really need to see that. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen the iconic Amazing Spider-Man, Punisher cover, where he's like in the Punisher's crosshairs and it's Punisher in the suit with the white gloves and the white boots. That's the first Punisher appearance ever. So it kind of makes sense for that to happen. I just think that they're going to really need to figure out how the Punisher is going to fit in with these characters, because you know what they can't do? They can't water down the Punisher, and they're going to need to put Punisher into projects with Spider-Man, and that means kids are going to be watching it. So I think it's a tricky creative situation. But again, this is Marvel. They're the best of the best. When I say something is tricky or difficult, I still expect Marvel to pass it with flying colors. Okay,
100%. And when you read Civil War, man, I wish the Punisher was in Civil War. In the MCU, it makes me think, man. I wish we had characters like imagine Matt Murdock or like Berthal in that room when you hear Tony and Steve and them arguing. Like, imagine the perspectives.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man, we missed out.
I would love to see like Punisher, Daredevil, Civil War.
And that'll be fun to do like after this Devil's Reign inspired story that they're doing.
Devil's Reign 2, and it's like around Frank and Matt. That would be crazy.
Yeah, and they beef. Oh, that'd be fun.
And Fisk is still the like villain, but Matt and Frank beef. That would be crazy.
Do you know who I would love to join this too? Hawkeye. I think Hawkeye will fit perfectly in this street level.
Yeah, 100%
universe. Yeah, I think Renner will be perfect. Gosh,
I agree.
So we'll see what happens. All right, now what everybody's been waiting for. Sadie Sink. Wait. Well, let me read some chats. Then we'll go to Sadie Sink. Hold on. That's what
we got a big Sadie fan who is new
right.
To the chat. So welcome to the chat, Starcourt.
Welcome, Hunter Iggy. What's up, dog? Hope you're good, man. I'm sad. I wanted her as Barbara Gordon. You wanted Sadie Sink as Barbara Gordon? No. Adaptation is not copy and paste. Facts, bro. Don't be hating on Power Rangers RPM. RPM was fire, bro. I loved RPM. Believe it or not, I watched every Power Rangers from Mighty Morphin to RPM, and they actually have good writing despite the poses and kid stuff. Facts, bro. Yo, what is the other Power Ranger one where they're all like tigers? It's not Jungle Fury, but it's another one. I forget. But their Power Ranger costumes were so fire. But one of my favorite Power Rangers SPD, bro. Anyways, I've always loved Power Rangers because it's goofy facts. Let's see. This episode understood what a superhero is a person with extraordinary power that uses that power for good because it's right. Very Superman facts. I just started reading Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum. Man, love the artwork so much. How John and Kyle designs are chef's kiss. The Sorrow Lantern looks crazy. Fire. A huge Stranger Things fan here. Sadie will crush any role the MCU gives her, but I want her to be Mayday as Toby Spidey and Mary Jane's. Oh, interesting.
I disagree. I do not want to see Peter Parker's children in the MCU. I think that's a terrible idea. I think that would ruin Spider-Man for the MCU. There is an alternate universe Spider-Man that takes place on Battleworld, and it's called Wedding Vow. It's where it seemed like they made it to satiate the people like, oh, why can't Peter be with MJ again? And it sucked. Okay, it was so bad, and like a lot of Spider-Man fans love it, which is crazy because I feel like no one is harsher on comics more than Spider-Man comic fans. And I am I'm a diehard Spider-Man comic guy. But they hate everything. And most people seem to love Wedding Vows. It was horrible. But I just don't think that we would be getting the right Spider-Man for the MCU if that Spider-Man were married and a father.
Also, if she is Mary Jane, please don't do Jackpot. Anyways, I'm cool off the Jackpot, bro.
Yeah, or Scream or any just
keep her Mary Jane.
So
yes.
if you really want Sadie Sink to be like a hero or a villain, I wouldn't be pushing for her to be Mary Jane.
Yeah, Jean Grey. Marvel Studios are gonna be fine.
Might be Gwen Stacy. We don't know.
Yeah, and, right. Yeah, it's just because she has. All right, hold on. Yeah, let me answer these, and then we'll get to her. I hope these rumors.
I want to say something to Kevin. Kevin,
right, go ahead.
What did we say that indicated we didn't think Marvel Studios would be fine?
Yeah, facts. I hope those rumors aren't true about Warner. Okay, yo, Kevin, we're gonna save this because we have a whole DCU thing that we're gonna talk about where we're gonna break all that down. All right, let's get to Sadie Sink. So it was confirmed that Sadie Sink is going to be in Spider-Man 4. There was no role attached to who she is. And she also did comment about Jean Grey saying that she's never heard about it, but we know stars lie, because they're not going to tell their casting.
That's like MCU casting and training. I bet you they get the call and Kevin Feige is like, don't say shit.
or your career is cooked.
yeah.
Yo,
Kevin
right?
Feige with the sniper.
Yeah, Shug Feige. That's what Josh says. He calls Feige Suge Knight. So how do you feel about Sadie Sink being confirmed to be in Spider-Man 4? It was a rumor that was going on for a long time. How do you feel about it?
I just love saying let that sink in because of the photo of Elon with the sink when he was like walking into the Twitter building and he was like he held up the sink and he was like let that sink in. It was great.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I posted it and people loved it. But listen, I understand why people think she might be Mary Jane and Jean Grey. Not only does she have red hair, I think the article even said the prevailing theory, and I don't know which trade was it again. Hold on, let me see.
Pretty sure it was for Variety, right?
Yeah. It's so odd because I don't think Variety's ever said anything like that. This whole prevailing theory thing coming from the trade is a big deal. They've never done that before. So that was interesting to me. I tweeted about it. And, I just don't know. I don't know where that came from. I don't think it came from Marvel because if Marvel said anything to Variety, I don't think Variety would keep their mouth shut. Just the press. You can't trust them. You could trust them as far as you could throw your phone. But Starcourt made a good point. Bryce Dallas Howard and Emma Stone both had red hair and then went blonde. Sadie could do the same for Gwen. And I agree. And I thought that too. I didn't think of the two actresses. So that was good addition to my thought there. But, I don't know. I think it would be cool to see her as Gwen Stacy. I don't really want her to be Mary Jane because we got MJ and why would you do MJ again? I get it. It was Michelle Jones. This could be Mary Jane, so it could be different. But why not start fresh and go to Gwen Stacy? And for all the people it happened in the comics. So that's the timeline. It's going to happen in the MCU. Newsflash, but Gwen Stacy died way before Peter ever got with Mary Jane. So there's another spike to not just your theory and the way you think. Your perspective is completely flawed, and that is why you are intellectual inferior.
You're so funny, bro.
Yeah, sometimes I just got to say to people yo, your perspective is flawed. You're because everyone thinks their perspective is so immaculate. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that this one is a wild card. I think it's really difficult to say, could she be Mary Jane? Again, Zendaya was MJ. I also think that there would be some faction of the fandom that would be upset and would
that's
be
what
like,
I'm going to say.
yeah, I think that there's some faction of fandom that would be like, you are now whitewashing a black actress, and we're not happy about that. I think, I don't really agree with that, but I think 100% it would come. Why don't I agree? Because the character was white to begin with. But Marvel, if they, I don't think it would be loud enough for Marvel to not do it because of that. I'm just saying what I think would happen. The other thing, I just think it's odd because we already got MJ, even though it was Michelle Jones and this would be Mary Jane. I'm not saying it's out of the question, but Jean Grey, I think it would be odd for Jean Grey, a big character, to be introduced in Spider-Man 4. Like, that is so weird. Random. So I think that the two characters that we were given from this Variety article, that's the prevailing theory, it's really difficult to bet on either of them because of the reasons I just went through. So anyone who is saying that they are 100% positive which way this would go, I would just ask them. I would want to know what their thought process is and how they landed on either of the character.
You're funny, bro. Bro said prevailing theory. I knew. The funny thing is, because when you tweet about, I was like, he's going to say this like 7 times when he explains it. I knew you were. You're funny.
I also have a really good track record. If you've been watching the show, you've been watching me collect my W's, take my victory laps, and rub my W's in Stevie's face and everybody else.
I've been cooked lately, man.
So if I am telling you that I wouldn't put my money on either of them, I think it holds some weight.
Yeah, dude. So I first off want to say this shows that Marvel Studios still has the sauce because they're still getting big actresses and actors to join. And that is always a great thing. And the other thing about Sadie Sink is that, she's a really good actress, and Stranger Things is a really big project for her. But she's not doing stuff like Millie Bobby Brown, where like Millie Bobby Brown is now a universally loved actress, And I think that her being in Spider-Man is going to elevate her a lot in regards to just her as an actress in general. Now, I personally don't believe that MJ will ever be replaced. Number one, because you guys have to take reality into a look. Tom Holland and Zendaya are engaged. They're about to be married. I mean, it's the perfect with it. I do. I don't know, but I'm saying like they have chemistry that I think is deep and amazing, and the fact that they're able to act that on screen in an amazing and perfect way, I think that those two have something that is special. With that being said, you also got to take this into thought as well. Zendaya or MJ's memory is gone. Okay, Peter Parker is single and ready to mingle. So why not give us a new girl, Gwen Stacy, who is already proven, she is already loved by the fans already, and Sadie Sink is an actress that is able to act as such, and this is going to give Spider-Man someone new to focus on. Not to mention, it's also possible that we might be getting Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn, and we might be getting a more traditional view of Spider-Man. That doesn't mean that MJ isn't going to pop up from time to time, but I do think that if we did MJ again. And I want to be very careful with the Spider-Man fans when I say this, right? In a comic book, you can do a 90-issue story with MJ. I think with the movies, when you have a character like Peter Parker who has multiple love partners, I think that it kind of rejuvenates the character, and we could possibly even see different sides of Spider-Man that we haven't seen with MJ. So, I think that, it opens the door to that as well, because we also got to take into effect that, Peter Parker, I think he's going to be very different than what we've seen. I think that the core of Spider-Man is still the same, but he's in a different circumstance now, and different circumstance, different girlfriend, different friends. I think it's just a perfect, situation. And the one thing that I really would love for them to focus on more is how is his education, and having Gwen Stacy is like the perfect character to, show that as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't think that it would make more sense for me for her to be Peter Parker's love interest than it would to be Jean Grey in Spider-Man 4.
That's weird, bro.
No sense. I will say, though, I do think that the Stranger Things cast is like in this really unique position because they're pretty like some of them. I don't know if I would say Sadie Sink is, I don't know actually, because the hype she got is like A-list hype. So I was about to say maybe she's not A-list, but the hype she got is A-list. Stranger Things, and I know Starcourt is the name of the food court in Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things too. I think the show is incredible. It's so creative. Everybody loves it, like of all ages. And it's not like a show. It's not like something like Lilo and Stitch where adults enjoy it, but kids love it. Like everybody really loves Stranger Things. And these actors have really only had to do this one Netflix show to become global, pretty much household names. It's crazy. And, you know, in these comic book roles, there's a lot to be said for castings like a David Corenswet, where people don't really know who he is, but now everyone knows who he is because he was casted as Superman, where, you know, they're able to pick up these Netflix characters, these Stranger Things characters, and they're like getting an A-list level name, but they're not real. It's not like you're hiring Tom Cruise and you're going to have to pay him $10 million to do a movie. So I think it's like a really unique situation that these actors are in. And yeah, you know, but when I keep thinking Sadie Sink is Gwen Stacy, I also think it's odd because this Variety article, for whatever it's worth, is saying Mary Jane. So how could we assume Gwen Stacy when Variety is saying the prevailing theory is Mary Jane? You know what I would love? I would love for her to be Gwen Stacy, just so we know the next time some pompous trade comes out and says the prevailing theory, we can just be like, yeah, screw you, get out of here.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, yeah.
I really love Joseph Quinn. That kid, and I love the Human Torch. Human Torch is one of my all-time favorite characters. I mean, I love all the Fantastic Four. They're just one of my all-time favorites. And Human Torch is just, he's gonna fucking crush it.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be great. He's gonna be great, bro. So, and a lot of people act like Spider-Man has a lot more love interest than just Gwen Stacy and, you know, MJ too.
Yes.
So it could be a whole other character that we don't even think about, you know. So, all right, let's read some chizats here. Before we move on to the next topic, let me see. We'll start here. Sadie Sink better. Hunger Mighty, are you trolling or are you serious? Families will go. He said Sadie Sink better be Mary Jane Watson. Families will go see Disney live action at theaters. Mufasa Lion King made 700 million. Little Mermaid. I don't count the Little Mermaid. I think that's before COVID. And by the way, Mufasa started off so bad and then they just took off. It's crazy how that movie came because I mean they had such a bad opening weekend and then they just crushed.
Yeah.
But who voiced Mufasa? Aaron Pierre. So, anyways, he's great. Bryce Dallas Howard and Emma Stone had red hair, then went blonde. Sadie could do the same for Gwen. Facts. Go full comic aggregate for Spider-Man 4. Bring Harry Osborn. Sadie Sink better be Mary Jane, or yeah, he's definitely not trying to troll. Or Zendaya is retcon to Mary Jane with red hair. Facts. Oh my God, Uncle Ben. Yo, he will never let this go, bro. The Uncle Ben stuff.
By the way, in the comics, there is a storyline where Peter gets a letter from the past, but it was dated recently when he got it, which made it odd. And it's called Sin's Past. And basically, Peter found out that Gwen Stacy cheated on him with Harry Osborn and had kids who were grown up by the time Peter got there. Crazy story.
That's pretty wild.
I don't think Marvel will ever touch that for the MCU because they really steer clear of romantic relationships in the MCU. I know that, you know, yes, Spider-Man's kind of like one of the oddballs in that because he obviously was with MJ, but they really didn't get very romantic. Like there was no romantic storyline between them. Yeah, he was dating her, but they didn't go deep on it ever. And I don't think it is an accident that they've avoided them for the most part.
Yep. Months ago, Jeff Steiner said she was in talks for Jean Grey, which is why it's a heavy rumor. Yes, she was in talk. Yeah,
that is true.
And we talked about that too on here.
Yeah.
It's asking for toxicity, having her be MJ.
Yeah.
People online saying she's Jean Grey. Kevin, stop trying to rage bait, bro. Come on, dog.
Oh, yeah.
You're like you're just trying to rage bait us to go on rants, and I'm not going to feed into that, bro. Like, we've already had this conversation 1,000 times. Joseph Quinn 2 making his MCU debut. Facts, bro. Jerry just talking about he's going to kill it. Crazy theory. Kitty Pryde, they date in the Ultimate Universe, right?
That is true. Not the new Ultimate Universe, the original one.
The original?
Yeah.
Are y'all on the side of wanting Spider-Man 4 to be multiverse or more grounded? Jerry, so, I'll let you go first.
I know Stevie might be a little different than me on this, but I understand that the Spider-Man movies are leveraged to push the main MCU storyline forward. And because of that, it might be multiversal. However, I still would prefer a more grounded New York classical Spider-Man movie. We've never gotten it in the MCU, and I love Spider-Man. I just want that. So you're mute.
I don't really care about either one. Whether if it's multiversal or not, I'm fine with either one. Because to me, it's all about what happens in Avengers Doomsday. Because they could do what they did with, Ant-Man, how Ant-Man was the movie in between Ant-Man was like a prequel to the Avengers stuff. Or like when Avengers was happening, he was kind of like doing his own thing. So it just all depends. Like if you're doing a prequel story to Doomsday, I think it should be like grounded. But obviously, if it's like a battle world scenario or something like, then obviously I would expect it to be a crazy multiversal, type of movie. So
I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want it to be a movie where the trades call it a palate cleanser. Because number one, I love the MCU. I don't need to cleanse my palate of the MCU. Pause. Yeah.
Great catch there.
Yeah. Oh man, I knew it was going to come out wrong. But anyway, it was so funny. I had to do it anyway. But I hate that term because like I love the MCU. I don't want like a dull MCU movie because we just had an epic MCU movie. I still want another epic, awesome MCU movie. And when they describe a movie as a palate cleanser, it usually isn't a movie that people look back on and favor so highly in the MCU.
Fair point. Very fair point. I also have this question. When it comes to DC, I kind of stopped reading midway and New 52. The only thing Rebirth I read was Green Lantern. Can you read all of Rebirth? Can you read all of Rebirth and ignore New 52, or is there homework before?
No, you could read. I think that's like the point, when they do a reset like that, the idea is that you could jump in and the prerequisite is kind of taken off the table. They want to sell comics. They want to make it accessible. So if you see something like Rebirth, New 52, or Marvel Now, DC is a little bigger on that than Marvel is. But Marvel did it recently with the X-Men, and you could just go with Rebirth. I think a lot of people had a lot of issues with New 52 outside of Batman, Green Lantern, and Justice League.
Bet. Make it take place in New York, but it's New York on Battle World, and that's the twist at the end. That would be nuts.
Yo, that would be a crazy twist at the end.
Joey, what's up? He's in my youth group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's up, doggy dog? All right. Yep. Now, next thing here. I want to talk about Superman because there was a video that kind of went semi-viral with the nerds, and then our boy Slav responded to it, and then we ended up posting our own little clip on your X about kind of like something that you kind of predicted before everybody else said it. And you and I, so in January, Jerry and I put out a video where we just laid it all out on the floor about Superman, because there was a lot of positives, but there also are a lot of concerns with Superman. And Jerry and I just kind of just laid it out how we felt. And the video went big, actually. It was wild. And so we just reposted a clip of that. So I want you to talk a little bit about some of the Den of Nerds video. And I kind of want to hear your perspective on it as well, kind of where, like, based on what Slav said and Den of Nerds, I just want to see where you are, because I also have some thoughts as well. And then I really want us to talk about why this Superman movie is so freaking important. Because I think a lot of people, Jerry, I don't think they understand what's riding on this movie.
So much is riding on this movie, and it means much more to us as fans than Warner Brothers' health as a company. And that's what I don't think people really understand. You have to understand. So I think that Slav is, how do I say this? I think I agree with Slav on a lot of things. But I do think he is, like, this movie means a lot to him. I think Superman's like his favorite, and he's really into it. And I respect that. And I think that Josh made some good points from Den of Nerds. But what I think is that, number one, I think, and apparently this wasn't obvious to everyone, but we've said it before, Warner Brothers is not in a healthy position financially. And for Warner Brothers, Zaslav has really made a huge bet on DC Studios. And James Gunn has bet DC Studios on Superman, pretty much, because he directed it himself. It's the first big deal project that we're going to get from DC Studios and the DCU. And if this movie isn't a box office banger, they are going to look at the DCU and DC Studios differently. First of all, I think the DCU could be dead on arrival, depending on if this movie does poorly, the DCU could potentially be dead on arrival. The middle range of that spectrum is they scale back the budgets for upcoming DC projects. Best case scenario, the movie is a banger. And if the movie is a banger in the way it needs to be, people are going to be talking about this. The result needs to be people talking about this movie as if it changed superhero movies forever. And that's the kind of effect I think it really needs to have. The other thing that I don't think people realize, and this is what I meant when I said before, what it means for us as, like, comic book movie fans, forget everything about Warner Brothers. If this movie doesn't succeed, a lot of Hollywood will forever think that DC just isn't cut out for Hollywood, and DC isn't an IP that works in movies. People will say that. I remember, like, I worked at a footwear company, and they were trying to make men's sneakers, and it's like a very popular female shoe brand, and people just had that, like, mentality, like, oh, they can't do men's stuff here, like, this is a women's, like, this isn't, we're not Nike, and I just feel like if if Superman isn't a success, they're going to say, we tried DC movies, we did Zack Snyder, we did James Gunn, we did Christopher Nolan, we did all these things over 20, 30 years. We did Tim Burton, we did Christopher Reeve. We've never really had, they're going to be like, DC work with, like, standalone trilogies, and that will probably be something that, they'll be able to make a case where you could get a visionary director to make a trilogy or a movie and a sequel Not that I think all those creators are visionaries, but you get what I'm saying. They, hire a visionary like Christopher Nolan, make a Batman trilogy, and we'll leave it to the top characters. But if this movie fails, people in Hollywood will be able to say, we tried so many different things to make DC a successful IP in the cinemas, and it never works. And that's because DC just isn't cut out to be a cinematic IP. And that is worst case scenario. And I don't think people understand that. So I want to hype this movie up. I really do, because I understand how much is riding on the success of this movie. But I'm never going to be full of crap either. Like, I'm going to call it how I see it, and that's what I find so funny when people get like so offended about like things I say about movies. And it's like, I'm just the guy calling it how I see it, and I don't know. I could never hate someone for that when it comes to movies, but whatever. Intellectual inferior is going to be intellectual inferiors. So, yeah. But like, does that make sense to you guys? Do you understand that could potentially be the bleak future of DC if the DCU doesn't work out? And I'm not saying Superman, but Superman happens to be the first big project of the DCU. So if this doesn't work, you think they're going to be like, oh, let's spend more on the, Batman Brave and the Bold, or, Lanterns, and Lanterns they're already making now. But you get what I'm saying. If this movie flops, then they're going to, at the very least, scale back on budgets, and at the worst, hang it up. And WB could have other problems. WB had a problem. They're having this problem with Village Roadshow. If Village Roadshow is filing for bankruptcy, that's a big studio. Things are happening, and it's a different time. You also have to understand that, movie theaters as a whole are doing 30% worse than they were before the pandemic. So they've never really recovered.
Yeah, the movies, and this is coming from someone who goes to the movies almost every week. Uh-huh. It's so bad that I say this year I've been to movies so much, but it's been to rewatch old movies. So me and Emily saw all the Twilight films. They had all the Harry Potter films back, so I went there. I'm seeing Novocaine though this week, which I'm pretty hyped for.
Let me know what you think.
Yeah, my friend, what he said is really good. So I really hope it's good. But the one thing about James Gunn, and he's kind of in a bad place, because when Feige started the MCU, he didn't really have an expectation, because no one really knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And the thing with James Gunn is that when you are starting a universe and your predecessor is literally the greatest cinematic universe ever created, where the first 10 years of their franchise was just darn near gold, obviously some changed the armor, but I mean, it was a monster, it's hard. The standard is very high, and reality is that some of the decisions that have been made are not the best decisions. And the reality about fans is that they're going to compare everything to the MCU, because you have a thing called the DCU. And so I do think that some of the mistakes that have been made that we've covered so much has really hurt, James Gunn and Superman. There also is a bias, which we're going to talk about in a bit, because we got someone that we have to call out a lame, by the way. But I do think that with Superman fans, or with comic book movie fans in general, there has to be one point that we all need to have, is this: we need Superman to be successful. And as much as I critique movies, right? Even though prime example, right? I hated Madam Web. I still went to go see it, I hated Venom. And Jerry, I hate Venom so much. I can't stand it. I still went to go see it. You know what I mean? And as comic book
Venom as a character.
Yes. And as comic book movie fans, I think that's the question that we all have to answer in ourselves, because a part of me feels like a lot of people love Henry Cavill, not Superman. You know, a part of me feels like a lot of people love Zack Snyder like not Superman. To me, it feels like a lot of people use their hate for James Gunn and to hate on Superman. So that's kind of what's been, really rubbing me the wrong way. But yeah, Superman is the most important movie of the year for WB. Everything is literally riding on this. Now, if this movie did flop, I still think I think the Lantern Show is still coming out and all of that stuff. But I think there will be a massive change of direction, which means that Pattinson Batman might do 6 movies or something. I don't know. Like, who knows what would happen, if this movie just flops and fails. But I don't think Superman would flop or fail in general, because Superman is a universally loved character. He's one of the most popular characters in movie history. So I don't really see where this movie just completely just flops.
I do think this movie is going to be a great movie.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think there's a lot of bias noise online from people, and we're going to get into that, but from people that, and I know it's easy to just say Snyder Cult, and I do it when I'm referring to them, but for the purposes of what I'm saying, they are just people that are resentful towards James Gunn because James Gunn got the job they wanted Zack Snyder to get. That's all it is. And what they fail to understand is that the reasons that James Gunn got this job is because James Gunn has never taken an L with a comic book project, ever. He is a creative visionary. He has created gold out of characters that nobody was asking for. And he is also a diehard comics fan. He reads the comics, he knows the characters and the lore, and he's been a comics fan his entire life. So all of those things make him probably the best fit for the job, definitely better than Zack Snyder. So I believe James Gunn is going to deliver with Superman. What I also think people fail to realize is, oh, well, he did Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy, and, those were like kind of similar. So like, why could he do Superman? Bro, you think James Gunn doesn't understand that Superman isn't like Guardians of the Galaxy or Suicide Squad? Like, if you really believe that, you are an intellectual inferior. Okay. Obviously, come on. I can't even believe we need to spell that out. And, the other thing is the trailer, which I have some issues with. I've been vocal about that. But what you can't deny is the result that trailer had. The amount of hype it sparked for this movie was insane, which also tells me that people want to love this movie. People are rooting for James Gunn. They're rooting for the Superman movie, and they really want a comic accurate Superman, and James Gunn's going to give it to them. The other thing here is I think there's a lot to be said for the original title of the movie being Superman Legacy. That title to me always meant that James Gunn wanted to tell everyone that this Superman movie is going to honor Superman's heritage and his legacy and be faithful to the comics. I think it was smart that he changed it. But that message didn't go over my head, even though I think it probably went over most.
Yeah. So there's this guy that I watch from time to time. His name is DDG. And like back when YouTube vlogs were like the biggest, I used to watch him all the time. He used to be with girls and stuff. I thought it was cool. And he just became a rapper about like a couple years back. And what happened was a lot of people on the internet, they hate on his raps, right? And Jerry, you know how Rolling Loud is happening as we speak, right? So DDG performed at Rolling Loud, and the concert was popping, bro. It was lit. I mean, he had the crowd bumping. And the one thing that he said what Rolling Loud taught me was internet hate and real life hate is two different things. And he was like, even though there are people that hate on my music on the internet, there's a whole different side of fandom that's real life fans that will show up for me no matter how bad the internet trashes my, music. And I think that for Superman, I think that is a similar thing as well. I think that there are people that will show up just because it says Superman. You know what I mean? Like I think there are going to be people that are going to like it just because it says Superman, and and so then when they walk into the movie and see what James Gunn does with Superman, and all of these things, I think fans are really going to fall in love with the character. And my hope is that we walk out of this movie saying the trailers didn't do justice for how good this film actually is. And I was even watching so Quentin, what's his name? Quentin Tarantino. Yes. So sorry. So he was talking about so he had an interview with this film geek, and he was talking about how hard it is to cut trailers, and he was saying that like his first trailer, or he was talking about when he cut the trailer for Pulp Fiction, he was saying how he had to make like multiple copies because the studio just hated them all. And so there's
he is the kind of nuts and crazy you would expect from someone to be that level of creative, by the way.
Yeah. Genius. And so, and Jerry, that also opened my eyes as well, is that a lot of, and he didn't say this, but I was just looking back at trailers too, just thinking about this whole Superman thing, sometimes the trailers aren't always going to be the best and great, and that's going to hurt some directors, but sometimes the movie is still great, even if the trailers don't do everything. But Slab told me that there is going to be a full trailer where we are going to see dialogue and stuff. So that's what I'm kind of holding on to. And until we see that, that's when I'm really going to have a full opinion of everything.
Josh was saying that he thinks that they are hiding that it is like Guardians of the Galaxy. And his theory is that, they didn't want to disclose the dialogue. And he's like, but at some point they're going to have to, make that clear, because this movie is going to come out and you can't have people go into a movie with completely different expectations. I don't think that's what he said word for word, but I think that was the effect of what I took from his video. I agree that they can't do that kind of bait and switch. But I don't think that this is like going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy. And if it is, I would say I'm completely wrong about James Gunn, and I shouldn't have bet on him, but I think he's going to deliver. I also think that there are a number of reasons that they could have not included dialogue in the trailer. Maybe it was too soon and they didn't know what they wanted to share about the plot. As much as I say I don't think it was a good idea, who am I to argue with the results? And that's what I think people fail to realize. Like, the results speak for themselves, and you can't argue with results. But hopefully we get more dialogue from the next trailer and we understand what the plot is going to be. The other thing that's interesting is, though, like, if they, with Josh's theory, and that's another thing I was thinking about, if that is true and they did want to hide what the movie really was, they could have took lines that weren't humorous and weren't like Guardians of the Galaxy and portrayed a movie that wasn't like that, and then had to do that later on. So I still disagree with it. But no disrespect to Josh. I love his content, and he's definitely one of the best in the game. So, but I still disagree, and I think this movie is going to be great.
Do you know what? And something funny that Josh also said in that same podcast was, he said, and the funny thing about it is, if Superman is like Guardians, it could possibly be even more successful. And he's not wrong. And I don't think he's wrong in saying that. Like, a lot of people think, like, bro, Guardians is loved, and if it is like Guardians, I don't see that hurting the film at all. I really don't.
I do think that there's something to be said for comedy superhero movies these days, because as much as I don't like all of it, there's a reason that Marvel keeps doing it. They obviously are happy with the results when they do it, But I do think that it's going to be like an optimistic beacon of hope. I hate the phrase beacon of hope. I hate it. I was arguing with a while ago with Matt about it, and we're going to get into, Suicide Squad, but, and he was like, but he's the beacon of hope. Like, bro, who cares? If that's what you need to hear about a superhero to be like, he's cool, that doesn't make someone cool to me. And I remember I said that in an argument online to someone else on like Threads, and he's like, he's not supposed to be cool. Bro, you're telling me Superman's not supposed to be cool? An alien that flies and shoots lasers from his eyes wasn't supposed to be cool? Are you kidding me? And I like Superman. Don't get me wrong. I just hate that phrase, beacon of hope. It makes him sound corny. And it makes him sound corny. And I hate the other decision that I really hate. I hate underwear over pants more than anything. But when I found out that the reason they chose to do it was because David Corenswet said he didn't want kids to be afraid of him. Oh, but great. We don't want kids to be afraid of him. So let's make him look like a clown. That's stupid.
And it's like,
yeah,
maybe he watched Invincible and he saw Omni-Man and got scared. I'm kidding.
I think I won you over to the no underwear over pants team.
Yeah, it has to be done the right way, man. And if not, I don't like if you do it, it's gotta like, it can't look like an extra article of clothing over it, if that makes sense. Like, it has to be a part of the suit. It has to be the same texture, the same, etc. Like, it literally looks like bro put drawers over his costume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bro,
it looks ridiculous. All right, let's read some chats here. If this Superman movie fails, we may potentially go back to just Elseworld DC movies. I hope that's not the case. I promise you, Matt Reeves is going to go. They're going to like resume with him going all in on Batman. I promise you that. Superman is the future of superhero movies, and if it fails, it's going to mean slow down. And it's funny you say that because I was talking to one of my nerd friends at church, and the one thing he said that he wished that Brave and the Bold was the movie that they started off with, because he felt like Brave and the Bold would have been a proven success more than Superman, which was it's a great point. What if the movie is universally loved but doesn't perform well? I think they will still. I mean, I don't think Superman is going to just kill the DCU on arrival, because they already have so many projects in development, but it would put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I don't know how many bombs WB can take at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that would be enough, because if the movie is loved but it doesn't perform well, they're going to say to themselves, well, we could put another one out and they're going to love it but not pay for it. So what does it make a difference?
Yep. It needs to be universally loved and financially successful. Now, I don't know how much does it have to make to be financially successful. Yeah.
I think it needs to we used to say 5. I think it needs to be 600 or more.
Yeah. It has to do something to where similar to what the Batman. I think the Batman was like 700 mil. We need something like that. If Superman fails, that potentially means no Lanterns, Teen Titans, Batman, Brave and the Bold, and I'm genuinely super excited for those projects more than Superman. I still think Lanterns is happening. And and here's the other thing: Superman could fail, and Lanterns could blow up like freaking Game of Thrones. It could.
That's true too.
And that just might be a shift in them making a Green Lantern movie instead.
They should have made Green Lantern. Actually, as much as I say they should have made Green Lantern first, it would have been cool, but Green Lantern doesn't carry the name. Green Lantern's not as recognizable as Superman. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was either you do Brave and the Bold or Superman.
Yeah, I agree.
It needs to be at least 700 million and at least 75% with critics and audience. Facts. I think it's going to do good with the audience as well.
Yeah, I do too.
If Superman doesn't work, then why would Supergirl work? And so on is what they will say. I still think making a Supergirl movie is a really bad move. I don't really see that movie being as successful, but we'll see. Like, you got to throw your big guns out. But anyways, I don't want any superhero movie to fail, except Wakanda Forever. Hashtag recast the T'Challa, right? Gosh, he knows his stuff, and he earned getting the DC job. And yes, bro. And the other thing that people don't, and like, and this is the same thing about like actors. Like, I remember, I was arguing with someone on Instagram, and they were like, "How can RDJ play both Tony Stark and Doom? He's an actor. They get paid to play different people. James Gunn is a director. It's his job to study content. Like,
Bro,
it's like, bro, it's not rocket science, bro."
Lindsay Lohan played her own twin sister when she was like 10 years old. Okay.
Yeah. Great movie, also. That's a great film,
movie.
by the way.
Great
Facts.
movie.
Gunn is literally working on the DCU Batman with whatever writer. If you think Gunn doesn't know the difference between Suicide Squad and Batman, exactly, bro. People like, bro, they act like he can't do more than one movie. Does Snyder even want the job? He probably does not. Zack Snyder low key got money. I ain't gonna hold you. He got paid for those Rebel Moon films.
Mm-hmm.
If somehow Thunderbolt, Superman, and Fantastic Four all fail, is the genre in trouble? Yes. The MCU is already in trouble after Captain America 4. Now they did clear 400, but still not good. I mean, Superman is kind of corny. I love calling him the beacon of hope.
Who said that?
Hungry Almighty. I do like his reasoning for why his costume is like that, not wanting to scare children. But yeah, I like no underwear, but we will see. Yeah, I mean, and I think that when he's in action, people aren't even going to pay attention to it. Green Lantern is so cool, but he's not Batman or Superman. It's like starting with the Flash. I low-key think a Flash movie would bang. Do you think they should recast T'Challa? Yes, we Joey, 100%. we are the leading people on the internet of hashtag recast T'Challa. we want T'Challa to be recasted like ASAP. All right, now I'm gonna just move this topic up because I really want to talk about this, the Suicide Squad video game. So all right, you made a post about it.
And
I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
So 2 people were crashing out in my DM. First of all, so Matt, if you're watching, Matt was in my DM. I mean, literally the second after I posted it, and he was freaking out. And then someone else was freaking out. And the second guy who was freaking out, I think he goes by batcave.comics on Instagram. And you know what? Just double check.
Yeah, we're gonna call you out. By the way, we both think that the Suicide Squad game sucks.
Matt's in my DM now too.
Of course he is.
Hold on. He goes, "You're not serious, right?" I'm gonna thumb. You and someone else, bro.
Wait, he said what?
He goes, "You're not serious right now," because I put on my story, and I posted this on Threads and Twitter. I wrote, "What is it about this game, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, that causes snowflakes to crash out and cape for it?" I'm like, "You and someone else, bro." I'm gonna tell him people live stream. We are talking on it now. So it was Matt and Batcave Comics. And he, after he crashed out about that, he saw something else on my story he crashed out on. And Batcave.comics. And I didn't even play this game. Like, I don't actually give a shit. Okay. So but I'll still cook you. Anyway, so I don't care about this game. I thought it looked terrible, but what I posted was like, hopefully, I forget exactly what I wrote, but it was basically to the effect of this game was so detrimental to WB and Rocksteady, and they lost 200 mil. Matt was like, well, they didn't lose it, but it was missing from their projected revenue. So it is a major loss, and it matters most when they have to explain it to shareholders, which is what I tried to explain to them. But, it's funny because Matt specifically loves to say, oh, you're a Marvel shill, or, I know he's called Marvel shill. Bro, when it comes to DC, you defend everything. And it's like, this game, everyone hated it. And I know he was like, oh, well, it's a looter shooter, and, no one understood that. I'm like, bro, people saw the
Yeah.
trailers. They
That's part of the problem.
Yeah. And if that is the problem and they didn't, meet expectations, like that's on them. And again, that goes back to the reputation. So I don't know what it is, but it's funny. The other guy and I was like, I couldn't figure out why he was in my DMs. I'm like, I don't even know this guy. And I was like, is it something else that pissed him off? And then I took a look at his profile and it was like all Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
All Harley Quinn comics.
Guys.
His profile picture is Harley Quinn. I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I decided to post, what is it about this game that makes snowflakes want to crash out and cape for it? I just don't get it. And I think that there's a weird fan base for this game. Listen, bro, a guy with Harley Quinn as your profile picture.
I brought receipts. Okay. So I compiled a little list of all of the complaints. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Complaint number 1, live service model backlash. Fans expected a story-driven single-player experience like the Batman, the Arkham games. And instead, the game featured a live service model with always online requirement, season content, and battle passes. Many players felt that this format was forced and unnecessary for a Suicide Squad game. Next thing, generic gameplay and design. Despite being developed by Rocksteady, known for the Arkham series, the game had a generic third-person shooter mechanics instead of innovative combat. So characters like Harley Quinn, King Shark, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang all played kind of like the same, with too much reliance on gunplay and aerial movement, which didn't feel unique. Okay. 3, weak story and villains. Marketing focused on the Justice League as the bad guys, but their screen time was minimal and their deaths felt anticlimactic. The handling, and this is the biggest thing where I think turned off a lot of fans. The handling of Batman, Kevin Conroy's last performance, upset fans as his character was reduced to an easily disposable villain, and the story lacked emotional depth. And then I'm gonna just list them off. I'm not gonna read the descriptions. All with the always online requirement. Also, bro, there was multiple delays. And by the way, Jerry, the game launched, bro, while still being unfinished.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So they took it off air and it wasn't even done. That's insane. Yep. By the way, what is it about guys that spend their days caping for video games online with Harley Quinn as their profile pictures?
Yeah.
Kind of sus. I can't even do a Trump voice. But anyway, Punchline is way cooler than Harley Quinn, by the way. Punchline is the more savage and strategic mastermind version of Harley Quinn. And Joker kind of, if I remember correctly, kicks Harley Quinn to the side for Punchline. She's a bit newer, but look her up. She looks pretty dope. Can we get a photo on here? I'm going to send you a photo. Okay. Hold on.
I got you, bro. Punchline.
Okay, perfect.
And she looks way better.
She looks way better. And she looks like if they were to put her in a movie, she'd actually look hot and not just like a clown.
Yeah. And I will say Margot Robbie
hot.
And Margot Robbie did such a heck of a job as Harley Quinn, which I think she's the reason why the character is so popular. But you can't
sorry.
Good.
I don't not like Harley Quinn. I just think Punchline's cooler.
Here's a photo of Punchline. That's it, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, she is cooler. So, yeah. And then the last thing is, it was also highly overshadowed by Spider-Man 2 as well, because Spider-Man 2 came out during that time, and we all know that fans were eating that game alive that weekend.
Yeah.
And it said another game came out too. Let me see. Oh, nobody played that game, Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah.
Actually, Pito, bro, that shit got Game of the Year.
Really?
Yeah, it looks so. I think it's like turn-based though, which is so stupid.
Okay, yeah, that's whack.
Something like that. It's like some weird gameplay. That should piss me off.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's like, bro, and this is the same thing as to and like them doing a suicide squad game is the same way I feel when the MCU does an Ironheart show or an Agatha show. It's like, why?
Yeah.
You could literally make an open world Superman game and make your money back times 1,000.
Seriously, it's so dumb.
Like, come on, man.
Maybe they're trying to flesh out the Suicide Squad property because they did 2 Suicide Squad movies. People really loved the second one, and like people, I could see them wanting to increase the popularity and maybe adding a game to the mix. I can understand that strategy, but you got to make a good game for people to give a shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I also want to say this because he is going to use this on you, Jerry. Basically, talking about how one of the developers for Suicide Squad ended up offing himself due to the hate. We don't condone hate for anything, and I think that's crazy. But that has nothing to do with the game being bad.
Yeah, and like, if you can't, if me saying that this game was detrimental to the studio, like, I don't even want to go down that road, but obviously we don't condone that. And like,
yeah, that's nothing to do with the game being bad.
We don't co-sign people sending hate to other people online.
100%. All right. So let's read some chats and we'll get to the next topic here. We're going to talk about some more Daredevil. Let me see. There we go. I hate that game. Oh, why did the Suicide Squad game fail? Oh, I can list over the 10 reasons.
Receipts.
Facts, bro. Yeah, shout out to Screen Rant and also Chat GBT because I kind of put the Screen Rant article in it and then it just gave me like a Cliff Notes version of it, which it's so amazing because I was not reading that whole article. Ryan, like they're ridiculous.
I don't even care about Suicide Squad that much.
Facts. Ryan Gosling has been cast as T'Challa, bro. That would be fire. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. That's talk about a race swap. I want that one. How does Harley Quinn ever beat the Justice League? Facts, bro. It's like, come on. Like taking Batman out? Are you serious? And to be honest, if Batman is evil, he's unstoppable. An evil Batman is unstoppable because he's killing you. There's no way you beat him. But the number one reason why that game got me triggered is the fact that Arkham Batman had the perfect ending to his character / story, and they brought back that version just to kill him off. And also, what didn't help is that Conroy just passed away, so doing that was terrible. Then have Harley Quinn kill him or his clone is still effing stupid. Facts. What did they do to the Joker? I forget, bro. Be honest. I don't know if it's just me, but why is Harley Quinn everywhere? She's not that great of a character compared to the likes of Green Lantern because of Harley Quinn, bro. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Because of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn it still is a movement, bro. It is. Like, there's so many Harley Quinn cosplays at every Comic-Con, no matter where you're at. Facts. And like you gotta view Harley Quinn as like Deadpool. They're always going to be popular. That makes me want to read modern comics. Hey,
bro, it's James Tynion's Batman run where Punchline, her first appearance. James Tynion is a fucking great writer. Put some respect on his name. His Batman stuff and his Detective Comics run, which I think I talked about last week, fire.
Bet. I'm excited for Peacemaker Season 2. Facts. I'm hyped about that too.
Me too.
Baldur's Gate 3 is Dungeons and Dragons video. Ooh. Guys, by the way, I've been thinking about getting into maybe some Warhammer because my friend was on it and he was showing me the gameplay and it looks kind of gas.
Bro, they say if you start playing that game, you can't stop.
Really? I might buy it. We'll see.
I wouldn't. I'd be careful. I think it's like a World of Warcraft type thing.
Is that addictive?
I think so. I would check before playing it.
Yeah. I had a D&D like addiction for a while, and then I got married, so I had to stop. But yeah, I did have a D&D addiction where All right. Now let's read some Daredevil rumors. One last question for you, Jerry. Are we still currently in Rebirth, or is it something new? I think talking about DC.
No, it's I don't think I don't know what the current name for it is, but I'm pretty sure that they are rebooting it again soon. Maybe we're still, I don't even know.
All right, next topic here, guys. Daredevil season 2. So there's a rumor about Matt Murdock is reportedly Matt Murdock will reportedly assemble a team of heroes to take on Kingpin's anti-vigilante task force and Daredevil Born Again season 2, and that's coming from Daniel RPK. Jerry, how do you feel about that, dog?
I just hope, I think there's a reason the Defenders didn't work, and I don't just want to see the Defenders rebooted. The only characters I really care to see are Punisher and Daredevil, and I don't know. I just think Jessica Jones, the first season was good. The second one was I liked the Danny Rand actor, and I liked the first season. And I liked the first season of Luke Cage. But I just don't think that those characters are as compelling as Daredevil and Punisher. And I think that's part of the reason why everyone talks about Daredevil and Punisher. No one really talks about the other three. Don't go down that path again. I am happy that they're talking about season 2, but I don't want to see the Defenders reboot.
We'll love Hawkeye and Kate to be a part of that team. I think that would be awesome. And maybe finding another hero from the MCU that can maybe Moon Knight would also be fine. If you get Hawkeye, Moon Knight, add Hawkeye and Moon Knight onto that team with Kate, that's all you need. That's all you need right there.
That is all you need.
I mean, so yeah, those are the people. And look, that might answer to the rumor that we just talked about last week, how they're trying to put Moon Knight in more MCU projects that's not his own. I think that and we're also going to get Hector's daughter for sure. She's definitely going to be the white tiger as well. She definitely is.
Oh, I don't need to see his daughter. I disagree with that.
Huh?
I don't need to see his daughter.
Yeah, well, no. I'm saying I'm saying I think she probably will be. Fun fact: so the first White Tiger I saw was the girl version, and she was in Ultimate Spider-Man the show, and she was great. She was really really great. But was she even Spanish in that show? I gotta check. Hold on, White Tiger, Ultimate Spider-Man show. Let me see. Yeah, dude. And by the way, but her costume design was fire too.
I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
But there's other characters than just the Defenders that you can go with.
Yeah.
But Jessica Jones might be coming back though. Who knows?
They could also make Hawkeye much more savage, which could make him darker. I like the iconic Hawkeye outfit, but they definitely don't want it to be too colorful for.
Oh yeah,
actually, they did make the Daredevil one brighter, but I don't think the purple and blue is going to be a good look for this section of the MCU.
Yeah, well, what about that new suit that he wore at the end, where it's kind of the simple purple and black? Do you think that will fit?
Oh, let me see. Hawkeye season 1 last costume. Oh, yes.
I think that'll be gas.
Not about that. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And you are right. Hawkeye does, but he does have to be more savage in this universe.
Yeah, which is fine.
In this show.
I need to read the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run. People always say it's one of the best Marvel comics of all time.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
Matt Fraction. I'm going to type that down.
He's a great... Bro, his Iron Man run is one of my favorite runs of all time.
Hawkeye, Matt Fraction. A lot of people talk about him.
About Matt Fraction?
Yeah, because there's this Marvel.
He's writing. Well, he just got put on Batman. He's writing Batman once once Hush 2 is over. So in like,
Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I am. I'm pumped. I think it's coming out not this week, but next week.
Oh, fire!
Yeah,
well, I'll definitely be there for that. Definitely there for that. All right, let's read some chats here. Hawkeye should have his iconic outfit, facts, but have them be side characters. I mean, Heroes for Hire is cool. I will be interested to see how that plays out in the second season and how Matt will convince them to step out the shadows. Yeah. Yo, do you think that Murdoch is going to be outed, like, and like exposed that he's a hero after he dons the suit by Fisk, or no?
It's possible.
Is that Fisk like? Is that Fisk like to do something like that?
I don't think so. There's actually in the Bendis run, Fisk knew who Daredevil was, and one of the guys that works for Daredevil, and he's like the son of another like famous gangster, but he isn't like really respected, and he's kind of like a loose cannon, a big mouth. He found out that Fisk knew who Daredevil was, and Fisk was out of town, and he leaked it.
Oh,
yeah. Not Fisk. The guy. It was crazy though.
Oh, what is that's? You might have just cooked and you didn't even know it.
Oh, because someone else could do it and not Fisk.
So you know that guy that Veronica sent to tell those thugs to. Oh, what if Veronica is the one that outs him? That would be crazy.
You mean Vanessa?
Sorry, not for Veronica. I'm thinking of Hawk. No, Vanessa. Sorry. No. But what if she paid one of his political guys to do it?
Hold on. I'm trying to find out who it was. The guy's name.
Because I could see that happening where Kingpin doesn't announce it, but someone leaks it in the show. That would be crazy, bro. Yeah. If I were you, bro, just hold on to that thought, because if that does happen, you have to come back and victory lap that for sure.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to think if I messed it up, because it's saying, Kingpin is not the one who directly leaks the identity. He manipulates the events to force the disclosure using various means to make it public. Maybe I forget. It's been a long time since I read that run.
Yeah. Let me see. It's his niece. Yeah, his niece. Yeah. True. He has some connection with Kraven. I don't know if this is one of your topics. Yes, we do have Colin Farrell in our docket. All right. Now, let's get to the business right here. Addressing the DCU haters, man. We got to have this talk because I'm about to pull this up for you guys. So, if you guys know me, right, I am not. So, like, Jerry is a very like, when Jerry's on the internet, he's here to piss you off and confront you, and he just enjoys it, and I enjoy it too. I think it's freaking hilarious. And there's this guy that Jerry has talked about on this show multiple times. His name is Aaron Fisher, and yes, I think he's a lame. I think he's corny. I think he's stupid. And he said something here that I really wanted to address, because it genuinely pissed me off. So let's talk about it here. So let me just give you guys a theme of what happened here. So Superman merchandise is being sold, right? There was a Superman book bag that was being sold. So this picture of David Cornsweet that we see, he's on the book, like it was like a little tag. You know how like backpacks have DC tags. On the DC tag, that's Superman. And so Aaron Fisher, if you guys don't know who he is like the anti-James Gunn, the anti-DC hater, DCU hater. And this is what he said here. Look at these photos. Why does Cornsweet's face bulge beyond his neck? Go look at every shot of every other Superman from this angle on. None of them do this. Does anyone find it weird that this guy is obsessing over a guy's face on a book bag tag photo?
Did you see what you definitely saw, because I posted it like 2 minutes before you posted this. I thought what I posted was hysterical. I said, I was like, oh my God, his face is bulging.
Yeah, so yeah.
Suck. Yeah.
Bro, and this is the part of the fandom that pisses me off, because what I will never understand is how where do we come up with this stuff, bro?
It's
For
so
real.
ridiculous. Like, who cares? You are looking for things to complain about this movie that are completely irrelevant to the quality of the movie. And I saw he tried to justify it. He was like, well, I'm talking about the marketing of the movie, and they're obviously not doing a good job marketing the movie. Bro, like I said earlier in the show, the result of the first trailer, you can't argue with that. And nobody is not going to see this movie based on the quality of this image. It's on a tag on backpacks that are being sold for kids that go to school and want Superman on their backpack. Okay. Do you think the kids care? You think the backpack's not going to sell because, oh my God, his face is, bro, his face looks fine. It like actually looks fine.
You criticized a man's chin, bro. You know,
Yeah.
and this is where Aaron, I have to call you out, bro. I have to call you out and be real here, because you call yourself a real reviewer. You call yourself a content creator, and you sit here and you post stuff like this. And this is why Jerry and I have to go. That's why when we are on the internet, sometimes people come at us in wild ways because they think that we're people like you, you know, until they actually hear our, you know, content and be like, oh, they're actually legit. The reason why we have to deal with so many weird people is because of you, bro. And the reality is, if you're an actual superhero content creator and you love superheroes, you would never post some crap like this ever, bro. Because we did not like the Marvels. Jerry, did we ever go this low to talk about a project that we don't like?
I promise you, I was never critiquing something about an actor's chin.
You hate the silver. You hate the females. Silver surfer. You didn't start a hate campaign about it.
I actually love the actress, but that's another story.
Yeah, but like you didn't sit here and nitpick every day, and not all of your content is based on this. And this is what hurts movies, and this is what makes normal fans look at this and say, what is going on, man?
Another thing is, he's completely full of shit, and that's what I don't like. He is a liar, okay? Because he says that I report on all things DC because I am a DC fanatic. And this is why we say you're not a real DC fan, because you obviously don't want this movie to succeed. You want this movie to fail. You want it to fail so badly that you're looking for things to criticize so desperately that you need to criticize a man's chin. Okay, yeah. It's pathetic, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God, his chin looks awkward in this picture. Like, bro, that is what you are saying. It is insane. And here's the thing, I actually said to him, I said, "Will you admit that you want Superman to fail?" Of course, he didn't answer. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it every day. He'll probably block me like he blocked you, which is funny. Later in that day, he posted like, "Cowards will block you," and then you can't reply. But bro, you blocked Stevie like 2 hours ago. What are you talking about?
Exactly, bro.
Man,
it's actually insane. It's actually insane.
It's insane, and it's like you're not a real DC fan because you want DC to suffer because you didn't get your way with Zack Snyder. It's crazy. And there's a reason that Zack Snyder didn't get the job. And like we've explained it to you tens of thousands of times, it's not our fault that you don't understand. It's crazy. The Zack Snyder fans are the most annoying group of people on the internet. It's insane.
Yep. And there is also something too and there's also the other side of the spectrum.
Also, real quick, they also act like they're being persecuted. They are like, I won't tolerate Snyder hate and like the hatred against Snyder fans. And like, bro, you are acting like you are dealing with racism. It's crazy.
Yep. And also, Zack Snyder was just with James Gunn at the DC studios hanging out laughing. And he was looking over his stuff.
And they even said, they were like, oh, well, Zack Snyder didn't post the picture, so James Gunn just took a picture with Zack Snyder and posted it like he was a fan. Like, bro, are you stupid?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the other dichotomy to this one. And by the way, it's funny that he said that about you because we're called MCU shills. Like when I was on Slap Show, some of the people that watch this show
about me.
No, some people that watch this show, right? When I was on Slap Show, like Derpy said on Slap Show, he was like, be careful of them because Stevie and Jerry have. He said something like we have the MCU sickness or something like that. You know what I mean? Like we are known as like MCU.
MCU all the time.
Exactly. So that's why I find it hilarious for him to say that you only cover DC because that's not the case at all. And you and I have both said we enjoy Marvel comics more than DC comics anyway. So it's like,
I guess what? I still read more DC comics than almost everyone.
100%. So yeah, but I also want to talk about the other side of the haters where they don't want to address any of the issues with DC, with the DCU concerns, and then they just bash people that have a opinion that still wants Superman to be successful. Those people are also just as bad as the Zack Snyder haters. We need balanced coverage of Superman, bro.
And that's why I say, like, as much as I want this movie to succeed, I'm still going to call it how I see it.
Exactly. Now, I will say this, though. What I am excited to do, and we just might have to stream just to watch it. If this Superman movie does go crazy, Slav's victory lap, bro, is going to be something of legends.
Yo. But here's the thing. Like, sometimes people take a victory lap and they were right by luck and not the actual thought process.
Oh yeah. But guys, don't worry. Around the time of Superman, we will definitely have Slav on the show because if this movie does do good, bro, it's gonna be hilarious.
I'll tell you this: if Pattinson, for example, became the DCU Batman, I still would have said, like, okay, you were right but like, I don't think it was the right choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Oh, I would have made like 15 videos just back to back.
I know.
Dude, that would have been you would probably still be hearing about that today if that happened, bro.
That was there was at one point I was like, bro, if I'm wrong, I'll never hear it.
You would have had to block me for a few days.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, dude, that would have been bad, bro.
Yeah,
I would have blew your phone up. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't want to say who, because I was commenting with him the other day, but at one point I think I did say who. Whatever, I'm not going to say it now, but he was like, "Of course, Pattinson could play the DCU Batman. Haven't you ever heard of a time jump?" It's like, bro, you're so. The thing about dumb people is that they don't realize that they are dumb. It's like I said to Stevie the other day. If you had a PlayStation 2 and everybody else had a PlayStation 3 and you didn't know what the PlayStation 3 was, but you played the PlayStation 2, you would believe the PlayStation 2 is the greatest console ever and gaming can never get better. Because that's all you know. And in your head, the PlayStation 2 is the best. Well, the people who are dumb, they still have their own intellectually inferior thought processes, but their thought processes nonetheless. So they don't realize that they're dumb when they're dealing with people who are smarter than them. They can't recognize that your thought processes are superior to theirs because they're too dumb to recognize that. So they go on as if they are smart, which is the funniest thing to say. That's why the funniest combination of someone to deal with is someone who's arrogant and dumb. It's the worst combination of all time.
Exactly. And as the Pattinson guy, I don't think I ever said a time jump. I think I just said just.
No, that wasn't you. That wasn't you.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I don't want to go someone that hard. I don't know though. I kind of think that he might deserve it someday. So
yeah, just in case.
yeah.
That's the doctor in you, bro. Doctor
Doom.
in you. Yeah, that's the Victor Vaughn. Snyderverse died like 10 years ago, and we're still dealing with Snyder fans who can't move on. Facts. He criticized the chin. I know, bro. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He has his own franchise that he can do whatever he wants with. Facts. To be fair, part of me does think Gunn posting that pic of him and Zach was Gunn having fun and trolling, which is why I found it funny. Maybe, bro, because James Gunn is funny. Gunn and Snyder are friends. Yes. James Gunn said himself that he's the one that talked to Zach about Trunks. My life, if my life is online, my life is online. Anyways, I've been hyping up the DCU to my casual friends, and they're all going to beat my A if none of these DC movies are great. Facts, bro. Same here. I'll admit I was one of those people that said, "Hey, man, happens to all of us, brother. Happens to all of us. It's all good."
The thing was, I think a lot of people didn't recognize that the problem was his characterization of Batman was just a little too reserved, a little too soft-spoken, and you needed someone who was more outspoken and commanding to deal with the Bat family and the Justice League. That's what I think. The best reason why it wouldn't work.
Yeah. Now, that wasn't necessarily my reasoning because I think he could change his acting and do that. My reasoning is more so of physicality and the level of maturity that Batman is going to need. I think Pattinson is too young to have that, if that makes sense.
He's getting older. I don't know. I think that could be done. I just think that it's his style of
really. I don't think so, man. Like, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't acted well, but like, and please don't use. I'm only using him as an example, not the actual actor. Like, I wanted Alan Richson age and maturity type to play Batman, like because he's a father. You know what I mean? And I don't see Pattinson being like the Bruce Wayne, the father. You know what I mean? Like I see him being Bruce Wayne, the Batman, but I don't see him being Bruce Wayne, the father and Batman. Where Alan Richardson is not my pick, but if he was to be Batman, I could see him playing the father too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Alan Richardson is also annoying online, and I'm curious to how the DCU is going to be on casting people who are like so bratty when they're so politically outspoken.
I think Gunn has in-house rules because everyone in the DCU so far has been hella trained. I think he has rules, bro. It just seems like I don't hear nothing.
The people they hired for the DC podcast, they don't fit that bill. But maybe
mine is Coy podcast. Mine is Coy because Coy is great. I love.
I disagree with that.
Wait, you don't like Coy?
No, definitely not, bro.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, does he get into that back? Because I've only seen him on.
I'm sure I've seen him. I've
only seen him on TikTok. Yeah, because I've seen him on TikTok and with the real rejects, but that's where they talk strictly, content. So maybe on that podcast he was showing his behind a little bit, but we'll see. All right, let's see. I don't think the DC Batman will be in his 40s. It's going to be anywhere between 35 and 38-ish. We'll see. All right, now let's talk about the Russos. All right, the Russos talked about Tony Stark and Dr. Doom, and I think they're just trolling the fandom at this point, just giving us just stuff to hang on. So the Russos confirmed that Tony Stark's death in Avengers Endgame is part of Dr. Doom's story in Avengers Doomsday. And it's what they said. We can't explain that as it's part of the story, but there's nobody else in the world who could play this character the way he is about to. So, what is your reaction to that? And obviously, look, we mentioned Josh a lot because he is one of our favorite content guys that we watch.
Yeah, we have to watch him a lot.
Yeah, so please, I really want you to talk about his theory as well when you talk about this because I know you had a point about that.
So I just think it's crazy because I think that Dr. Doom is going to be Dr. Doom. I think Victor Von Doom is going to play Dr. Doom. I think Marvel is using literally their biggest villain in the entire Marvel universe. I don't see them giving us a alternate version of him, especially one that didn't already exist in the comics. And Josh's theory is that, and he's had this theory for a while, is that Tony Stark is going to become Victor Von Doom. Tony Stark is going to become Doctor Doom in another universe, if I have it right. It's something along the lines of, or in our universe,
I'll break it down if you want me to.
Yeah. Break down the theory, and then I'll give my thoughts on it.
Of course. So basically, Josh's theory is that, which goes against the MCU rules in general, which I think is insane, is that the Tony Stark that we saw in the MCU, he was never Tony Stark. He was actually a Victor Von Doom variant, but the Starks adopted him and raised him as Tony Stark, and that he was never born from the womb of his mom. So when we saw him become Iron Man and die, that was just because he was raised by the Starks, and basically he's saying that is going to push the point that everybody that looks like RDJ on every other Earth is a Doctor Doom is a Doctor Doom variant, and trying to point. And he said that it's going to be this greater deal of like, nature versus like evil, saying like it doesn't matter about who you are, but what family you come up through and all that stuff.
It goes against like everything, I believe. Yeah, it does. The other thing, I guess where I'll start, is Books of Doom by Ed Brubaker. It is like the ultimate Doctor Doom comic. It's 6 issues. If you haven't read it, I think I recommended it last week too. It's amazing. You can download Marvel Unlimited tonight and read it on your iPhone or tablet or whatever. But the thing is that Victor Von Doom's father, his mother was a witch. His father was like treated poorly in, I don't know if it was Latveria or where he originally grew up, but it was a big part of Doctor Doom becoming who he became to be. And first of all, I don't like the idea of them altering Doom's origin so significantly, because I think that played a big part in Doctor Doom becoming Doctor Doom. And I also think that this would kind of ruin everything that came before Endgame. Like, this would just make Iron Man so different. I think it would change everything. And, I just don't see them giving this like weird alternate version to be like, oh, well, that's how they look the same because Tony Stark is Victor Von Doom. Like, and the adoption theory, it like that to me is crazy. And this is why I said, when I originally said like this announcement broke people's brains. Like, I don't think people were able to wrap their heads around that Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom are going to look exactly the same. Not exactly, because Doom's going to be, have his face scarred up behind the mask. I do see how Josh went down this path, especially with the article from today. I think I saved it. Hold on. It was trying to look.
It was with Times, right? It was with Times.
Yeah, exactly. Where they said they specifically stated it was, that was from something else. But let me see. I'm trying to see what I said to you because I want to read what I said. But yeah, anyway, I just I could see, I know that they're now saying he could play Doctor Doom in a way that nobody else can. And it's part of the story. I don't think, I could see Josh seeing that and then being like, oh, this further confirms my theory. But I still disagree. I still think that could mean a whole, there's so much more possibility of what that could mean. And it doesn't necessarily mean your very specific theory. Because I just don't see Marvel changing Doctor Doom because RDJ played Tony Stark. That just sounds so silly to me. And I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm about to cook because I have studied the multiverse, and this, the MCU multiverse I love, and I've studied it in and out. And we have to talk about the multiversal rules of the MCU. Okay,
Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine has showed us this. We have seen this in the Loki show as well. So let's start there. Just because a character might look the same doesn't mean they are the same character. When we go into the Loki show, right, we see Loki and Sylvie, right? He's a guy, she's a girl, but they're the same character. And we even in Loki season 1, when Loki is in the void, we see a old version of him that doesn't look like him at all. We see a kid version of him as well. You know, when we go to Deadpool and Wolverine, we see Chris Evans pop up, where Deadpool thinks that is Captain America, but it's not him. He's the Human Torch. This is not hard, you know. And that's the point of the multiverse, is that it is multiple characters, that it is the same actor. Obviously, we know that, but they play different characters. And also, the one thing that Josh hasn't thought about, which I think is the most obvious thing, what makes you guys think that we aren't going to get Tony Stark as well in this movie? You know what I mean? And they paid this man $100. If you think that they paid this man $100 million to just play Victor Von Doom, you might be crazy. And I think that we have more of a chance to see Tony Stark be in this. And also, we got to talk about this fact: the fact that the Avengers roster is weak, the fact that the Avengers roster isn't doing the best that it can. So don't be shocked if a Tony Stark from another Earth does end up being on this team. So,
you know. Also, there were a lot of infamous Iron Man theories. There's someone else that I've beefed with online that was like, oh, Tony Stark is going to be infamous Iron Man. And it's like, bro, Tony Stark isn't infamous Iron Man. Just say you don't read comics. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And anyway, you know, Infamous Iron Man is a really cool comic. I wouldn't recommend reading it unless you've already read Books of Doom or are like really familiar with Dr. Doom. But if you read Books of Doom, like go for Infamous Iron Man after, if you don't want to read all the other Doom stuff. But Infamous Iron Man is really cool because what happens is Tony Stark dies in Civil War II, and Victor wants to be a hero and takes up the Iron Man suit and like redoes it to his look. And he is like, I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to take up Iron Man as a mantle. And what happens is the other characters don't believe him. Like, I remember there was a scene where the Thing was like, you know, I forget exactly what he said, but it's something like, you're crazy, you know, in his voice. You could just imagine it. The Thing's, I love the Thing. Anyway, you know, yeah, it was really cool. But I also always toyed with the idea of what if Victor Von Doom was infamous Iron Man post Secret Wars and joined the Avengers? Like that would be crazy. I would love to see that. But the reason I say it in that specific order is Dr. Doom can't have his redemption arc without being the villain to be having the from. So that is a key component here that I think that everyone forgets. But I don't think, like, the more I think about it, I'm starting to come around on the idea of them like nodding to, okay, we understand it's RDJ and he looks the same. You know, similar. I didn't realize that there was a big theory when Endgame was coming out about them going back in time and killing Thanos as a baby. And Stevie told me today that that was why that was in the movie when Rhodey was like, we should just go kill him as a baby. And they were like, nah. And Rhodey was like, it's Thanos. That was because they were nodding to that rumor. So now I think it is possible that they're going to nod to the fact that they understand in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom look alike. I do not think we are going to get a Doctor Doom that isn't Victor Von Doom and the classic version of Victor Von Doom. I think anything else than that would be crazy. And Marvel is not going. Marvel knows their longtime fans are integral to the success of the MCU because they need us to be happy. And by us being happy, we rave about things online, we create hype, and that's how the masses move. How else would they know to be hyped for a character like Doctor Doom, who's never really had a major presence in cinema? Or how would they know to be hyped for characters like Kang the Conqueror or other? It's because the comic heads like us hype it up online, and the MCU fans who are like big on Marvel but don't read comics see it, and then it trickle down economics. Okay.
Yep.
So I do think it's very important for them to do it. And I think Marvel understands it's very important for them to do it right, to do Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom, and not some weird alternate variant where they're blending what Tony Stark was with what Victor Von Doom is.
Yeah, and it's like, why destroy Tony Stark's past? You could have them both in the same movie.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Imagine Reed and Tony Stark in a lab together cooking up.
Yeah,
that's the real science bros. You know what I mean? And if you bring in T'Challa, come on, T'Challa, Stark, and Reed, like
Illuminati, bro.
I know. And we already have Beast. We already have a Beast already.
Yep.
You know,
and we got Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and we have a Captain America.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I just keep saying, like, if they're paying this man 100 mil, he's not just playing Doom, bro. It's not just Doom. That's kind of just what I think. Like, they will be dumb to not bring back Stark in the multiverse. Because I mean, bro, if you show Tony Stark in a trailer facing against looking at Doctor Doom or him and Reed, bro, are you kidding me?
No.
Are you serious, bro?
Game over. You want to talk about results?
Automatic billion
on Twitter for like 36 hours.
He said, well, yeah, bro, automatic $1 billion. Automatic. There's no way out of that. And if you talk about bringing Hugh Jackman into the mix and all these other people, bro, come on. And that's Hugh Jackman's dream. By the way, he said that his dream is to be on stage or be on screen with all the Avengers. It's so sad that he never got his chance to be an Avenger. Imagine if Wolverine was on that Avengers team. That would have been nuts. My God.
Sick.
We got robbed. All right. Let's see what people say. Nature versus nurture. Yeah. The variants don't have the same facts. Essentially, he said the MCU Tony Stark was originally named Victor Von Doom, but then he was adopted by the Starks and they renamed him Tony Stark, and he was nurtured to being Tony Stark instead of Doom. And it's funny being nurtured into Tony Stark when Tony viewed his dad as an arrogant, like, D-bag. You know what I mean? Like, Tony didn't even like his dad. So how is he being nurtured? You know what I mean? I mean, like the whole beginning of Civil War was him saying how him and his dad, like, when his dad died, they left on bad terms. So how is that being nurtured? And then Tony gets his closure in the last movie. Wild, bro. In the last movie, he said his wife was pregnant, which confirms that Tony Stark comes out of the womb.
Right.
Also,
that's
Howard.
A great point.
Oh my gosh! And then Smiles, you said it. Yeah, bro. So that's crazy. I didn't even see that chat. That's actually wild. I forgot about that. But then again, there's an easy out to that. The baby died in the womb. That would be so corny, bro. That would be so whack. Oh, I would crash out. Too complicated facts, bro. Just let him be Doom. Tony is going to be like on your left with Spider-Man. That'll be funny. You gotta love how our fandom is sometimes. Tony Stark is infamous Iron Man, so the Snyderverse to Netflix, X-23 as the MCU Wolverine. Don't recast Yo, that is a lot of BS that is in this right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Shalabao as Silver Surfer. Wow, that is really bad.
That. Keep it up.
Go.
I got
GPS. What's up, Chris? All right. It's almost like they never read a comic in their life. Yeah, exactly, bro. Like the amount of people that think the normal 616 Gwen Stacy, where did this come from? Oh, is the same as Spider-Gwen is just so stupid. I hate when she becomes Spider-Gwen and a main continuity Gwen Stacy is stupid. And Bruce Banner, you're right. RDJ is going to play back Black Panther. Facts, bro. I want it. I'm going to make it happen. All right. We have 2 more topics right here. Now let's talk about some Sergeant Rock stuff going on. So we just found this out earlier, like before we right before we hopped on the show, and this is what it says: Colin Farrell is in talks to star in the Sergeant Rock film for DC Studios as the lead. So, Jerry, how do you feel about this whole Sergeant Rock stuff going on? Because obviously, Daniel Craig was on it, but he dropped
Yeah.
off. So, how you feel about Colin maybe taking the spot?
First of all, Sergeant Rock is a dope character, but I love this. I think this is a great casting. I think Colin Farrell is a super versatile actor. I think he's going to deliver on this, and people are going to be really happy with his performance. I think it's odd that people are. It's funny because some people are like, nobody cares about Sergeant Rock, and the same people, not all of them are Snyder Cult that are complaining about this casting, but a lot of the Snyder Cult are complaining about this casting and then saying that nobody cares about Sergeant Rock. If you don't care about Sergeant Rock, why do you care about the casting? Makes no sense. So dumb, intellectual inferior, someone who is smart would recognize that the two things that are coming out of their mouth don't corroborate. Also, Sergeant Rock's a really cool character. He is definitely lesser known, but he is a really cool character nonetheless. And I just see Colin Farrell really delivering in, the soldier, that kind of storyline. So I am hyped for it. I do think it's like kind of odd that they are making so many projects though about like non-A-list characters. I know they want to do really creative stuff, and if the script's good, remember James Gunn has said that they're doing things differently. I think that their financial situation has led to some smart innovation there, where they have said that if no project is being greenlit until James Gunn reads the script and loves the script. Until then, nothing is getting greenlit. I think it's a little different because I think they initially announced a bunch of projects and then they came up with this rule. So I don't know how this rule is going to affect some of those projects that were in the monsters and whatever they called the Gods and Monsters slate. Thank you. So, I think that there's something going on here with movies like Sergeant Rock and Clayface and, I think there's some other ones in there. I think that the scripts are probably really good and they have a low budget and they're like, it just makes sense like to make these movies. I just hope there is some strategic direction involved with these movies, and they're not. I like that they're not making movies unless the script is really good. I like that they're picking movies to make that they have low budget, but we also need these movies to fit into this shared universe and drive that storyline forward. And if there are so many projects about characters like Sergeant Rock and Clayface, I'm not saying it can't work. And I'm not saying I don't see ways that it can work, because you could do a Sergeant Rock movie and then a Clayface movie, and then you could have Clayface pop up in a Batman Brave and the Bold movie. And there you go. Now the Clayface movie has some connectivity to it. And Sergeant Rock could, maybe be in Superman. Obviously it's not, because Superman was shot before Colin Farrell was casted, but you get my point. And I just hope that the greater connectivity is being thought out. And again, I have faith in James Gunn. I think he has earned that.
Yeah. So I think Colin Farrell will be great at Sergeant Rock, and it makes me want to go see it, because I'm one of the people where like, why are we even doing this movie? I think this would be a good TV show format. I think that with the way that it is now, you got to be very careful with what you put on screen, because even a movie like Novocaine had a terrible opening weekend, and I heard the movie's fantastic. So, I do think it's like feels like it's a financial loss, or not a financial loss, but it's just like, why? I do see the reward though, to the risk of like, it could hit, it could do 500 million out of the blue and it's just a hit. So I understand that, but I just don't see the point in doing it now when because I'm sold on the Gods and Monsters project. So, and that's kind of where I'm a little deterred with some of the stuff that's getting greenlit right now. But as I said, I mean, I have no doubt with Colin Farrell in it, with James Gunn working on the writing, that it's not going that's going to be, I think it's going to be a good project, and that I'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah. I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say also, obviously, DC and Colin Farrell work really well together and have a really good working relationship with very strong results. So he is, studios do that when they have an actor that has delivered major success to them, they continue to hire them for other projects within their umbrella. And I think that, it makes sense, obviously.
I agree. So, hey man, we shall see what happens. But yeah, man, I think is that I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm just in the mood where like I just want to see the Bat Family, bro. I want to see Superman. I mean, but I'm more of a supernatural character anyway. I'm more of a supernatural person anyway. I like deep lore and space and magic and all that stuff. So that's just me personally. My bias. Let's see chats here. I would rather a terrific Sergeant Rock or Clayface movie than a Rush Batman or Superman movie. Facts. That is facts. That original slate sounds like a proof of concept, like what a DCU could look like, but I think the intention was always to change if needed.
Fair
point. I never thought of it that way. Clayface could be what Sony wanted a villain movie, but instead of spending like 150 million, they spent like 40. Yeah, because they are spending, I think, that much as well. All right, last topic of the night. So, this is pretty big news about Marvel. Let me pull this up 1 second. So Marvel Comics announces Marvel Knights: The World to Come, a 6-issue series launching this June. The book will see Christopher Priest and artist Joe Quesada return to Black Panther and the Marvel Knights imprint with colors by Richard Isanove. So Jerry, how do you feel about this? Because I saw you were hype about it earlier.
Yeah, well, I loved Marvel Knights from back in the day. They did some like grittier stuff. There was a Spider-Man comic that was a retelling of the night Gwen Stacy died, or Death of Gwen Stacy, and it was a little more modern and darker. And this storyline sounds really cool. I think they said like it's about T'Challa dies, and then there's a war over Wakanda for the technology, and it sounds like vibranium. So it sounds really cool. I'm hyped about it. This is definitely something I'm going to be reading when it comes out this summer.
Yeah, I never have read it, so I'm just going to have to jump into it and see it. But I'm definitely going to check out the old one though, since they're coming out with a new one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Bendis Daredevil is part of the Marvel Knights imprint too.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go and check it out. Marvel, comics in general have been cooking, bro.
Yeah. Wait, I'm gonna read it. The King of Wakanda is dead, leaving the world's most advanced technology, most precious metal, and a cryptic vault of dark secrets unguarded, while triggering global conflicts amongst Marvel's heroes, villains, and mutants. While with T'Challa gone and the future of the Marvel Universe teetering on a vibranium knife edge, a tribal challenge ensues for the Wakandan throne. Its mysterious victor will emerge as the new leader of Wakanda and usher in the world to come. I mean, that sounds incredible. Yeah, and comics are on fire right now. Like, what a time to be alive. We have the Ultimate Universe, we have the Absolute Universe. Current Marvel is fire. Current DC is fire. I mean, it's like, bro, it's insane. I am loving it. I can't wait. And this week is such a big drop. I cannot wait. One World Under Doom has been so good. The second issue finally drops this week. Absolute Flash drops this week for the first one. So, yeah.
Absolute Flash. Oh, I'm going to read that.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
It's supposedly really good.
Oh, it's going to be lit. It's going to be lit.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple of chats before we get out of here. The lower budget movies will have a better chance to make money. Is Colin Farrell Batman? What?
Is Colin Farrell in Batman? I think that's what he's asking.
Oh, in the Batman 2? Oh, he definitely yeah. Matt Reeves confirmed that he will be. Yep. So And there might even be a possible Penguin season 2. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. We hope you guys have a great night, man. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be live again tomorrow for Daredevil Born Again watch party and all that jazz. So you guys have a great night. Stay crispy and peace out.
Peace.